The commander actually told me about the disastrous effects of the budget cuts that happened under the last administration. He told me how the Air Force had to cut back on training for fighter pilots, how they had to cannibalize some of their aircraft on the tarmac to keep other airplanes in the air. I mean, literally said the most powerful military in the history of the world was actually dying for spare parts. And then he looked at me and he said, "But all that's different now. The difference President Trump has made is rebuilding our military. And we're making the strongest military in the history of the world stronger still." And with that renewed American strength, we've been restoring American leadership on the world stage. Thanks to the President's leadership, our NATO allies are now contributing more to our common defense than ever before. And unlike the past 4 administrations, President Donald Trump kept our word, kept the word of the American people to our most cherished ally when he opened the United States Embassy in Jerusalem, the capital of the State of Israel. Their caliphate has crumbled, and we will soon drive ISIS from the face of the earth. And here at home, this president's been standing without apology for the men and women of law enforcement. Heroes all. In fact, you know, there's quite a few members of law enforcement with us here today. Would you all mind just getting on your feet and showing all these great police officers just how grateful we are for the job they do every day protecting our families? Thank you all. This president, from early in this administration, and recognize that it's been a challenging time in law enforcement. Seems like many in the public debate in recent years have been quick to condemn men and women who serve on the thin blue line. But I'll promise you, under President Donald Trump, we will continue to make sure that all those who serve in law enforcement at every level have the resources and the respect that they earn every single day. And we see some on the liberal left criticizing one particular agency of law enforcement that's out there literally risking their lives to enforce our laws. So let me make it very clear to you. Under this administration, we will never abolish ICE. We will stand with the men and women of immigrations and customs enforcement. With that renewed commitment to support law and order and law enforcement, we've been securing our borders, we've been enforcing our laws. And I'm proud to report to you, with the support of Republican majorities in Congress, we've even started to build that wall on the southern border of the United States. And we're going to build it all before we're done. So, men and women of CPAC, it's about prosperity. It's about our security. But in this administration, it's also about preserving the ideals enshrined in the founding documents of this country. You know, I have to tell you, I couldn't be more proud and more grateful to stand with a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. I mean, think about it. In one of his very first acts in office, this president reinstated the Mexico City policy so that our foreign aid dollars never go to organizations that promote or perform abortions. He withdrew the United States from the United Nations Population Fund, and because the American people should never be forced, to support abortion policies around the world. And our administration actually took steps with this Republican majority to give states the ability, just like Tennessee, to defund abortion providers. And it was my high honor to cast the deciding vote to defund Planned Parenthood at the state level. I mean, the truth is, this is the most pro-life administration in American history, and we're proud of our record. But this administration has also stood for our first freedom, the freedom of religion. From early days in this administration, we've taken decisive action to support religious minorities around the world as never before, and we've taken action to ensure that every American can live out their beliefs in the public square, and not just Sunday morning. Now, to protect all the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution, this president's been keeping his promise to appoint strong conservatives to our federal courts at every level. In fact, in the last year and a half, President Trump set a record for the most Court of Appeals judges confirmed in the first 2 years of any administration in American history, and they are all principled conservatives. And that doesn't even include the newest Justice to the Supreme Court of the United States, Justice Neil Gorsuch, or the President's nominee for the highest court in the land, Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Well, let me tell you, Judge Kavanaugh is a family man, a man of integrity, with a lifetime of service to this country. His impeccable credentials reflect a consistent conservative judicial philosophy. When he served on the D.C. Court of Appeals, he wrote more than 300 opinions that reflect a strong record of support for limited government, religious liberty, and our Second Amendment. Judge Brett Kavanaugh is a conservative who will interpret the Constitution as written and not legislate from the bench. Now, President Trump and I are confident that the Republicans in the Senate will complete the confirmation process properly, respectfully, and in a way that treats all parties fairly. And I believe with all my heart that very soon, Judge Brett Kavanaugh will be Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and he will take his seat on the Supreme Court of the United States of America. My fellow conservatives, it's an honor to be with you today at a momentous time in the life of our nation. The truth is, the choice we face in these upcoming midterm elections could not be more clear. With the support of Republican majorities in Congress, we've been delivering results for the American people. We've been keeping the promises that we made in 2016 to the people of Tennessee. But the truth is, and you can see it clearly from here in Knoxville, ever since 3 a.m. on November 9, 2016, the Democratic Party has adopted a one-word platform: resist. The truth is, the Democratic Party is blinded by opposition, and it's driven them further to the left than ever before. I mean, think about it. Today's Democratic Party wants open borders to protect criminal illegal immigrants instead of the American people, and more Democrats every day announce their desire to abolish immigrations and customs enforcement. Today's Democratic Party doesn't want to cut taxes, they want to raise your taxes. They want to reverse the tax cuts that are driving economic growth for working families and businesses because they want bigger government. And they think ultimately they can spend your money better than you can spend it for yourself. Today's Democratic Party thinks Obamacare didn't go far enough. In fact, President Obama himself now says that European-style socialist medicine is, in his words, a good new idea. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but the Democratic Party is actually now running avowed socialists for higher office this November. Now, I guess they think the United States of America should look more like the failing states of Europe. And that same Democratic Party wants abortion on demand, and they want the American taxpayer to pay for it. Today, this Democratic Party not only criticizes our president, our policies and our majorities, and the principles we stand for, remarkably, their leaders increasingly criticize the American people and our country itself. I mean, last month, the governor in New York actually said that America was never that great. And last week, I heard that my predecessor, Joe Biden, said that those who stand with our administration are among the dregs of society. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that anyone who thinks they can insult the American people like that should never lead this nation again. Not their people, not their party. I mean, they're talking about us, right? Okay? They're talking about farmers and coal miners, steel workers, hardworking men and women from across this country. People that I see every day as I travel across this country. People I saw back on Election Day and I see out today. Moms and dads, senior citizens. People in this rising generation who believe in the principles of the American founding of limited government and free enterprise and individual liberty. They're talking about a lot of members of our armed forces and heroes serving in uniform every single day. And they're talking about citizens of every race and creed and color who are all united simply around a belief that we can be stronger, that we can be better, that we can have a brighter future than we've ever imagined. And they've stepped forward to do something about it. You know, if today's Democrats think they can disrespect people of the country like that, disrespect this country itself, I think this November we need to remind them who's in charge. Alexander Hamilton, I guess, was one time talking to some foreign diplomat who was visiting the Congress, and the guy thought it was a little raucous down there on the floor of the Congress. And Alexander Hamilton apparently turned and looked at him and said, "Here, sir, the people govern." Maybe we need to remind some politicians in the Democratic Party that those words are still true today. So this November, in 46 days, America faces a choice, but Tennessee faces a choice as well. A choice between liberal Phil Bredesen and a principled conservative in Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn. Now, Marsha and I are great friends. We served together in the Congress, and I can tell you, Marsha Blackburn is one of the strongest, most principled conservatives that I ever met and ever had the privilege to serve with. She's a tireless fighter for the people of Tennessee. In the Congress, Marsha Blackburn stood with us to enact those tax cuts and tax reforms, and she's the reason I remember that Tennessee doesn't have an income tax at all. Marsha Blackburn's been fighting for Tennessee's taxpayers all her life. The contrast is when Phil Bredesen was your governor, Tennessee saw tax and fee hikes of nearly $1 billion. And just like Nancy Pelosi, he actually said, I'm told, that tax cuts for working families was nothing more than crumbs, right? You know, that term showed up at a few days after the president signed that tax cut. And all these businesses across Tennessee and across America were handing out $1,000 bonuses as we went into the holidays, even before the tax cuts took effect. And Nancy Pelosi said that it was just crumbs, and Phil Bredesen used the same term. Now, let me remind you all, Karen and I come from what I'll call the Joseph A. Banks wing of the West Wing of the White House, okay? You with me on that? You think behind me? I mean, we've always lived on a budget our whole lives. Still do, okay? I mean, we had a term when our kids were little. We had a term for an extra $1,000 in my paycheck at the end of the year that we weren't expecting. Christmas. Are you with me? Let me tell you, anybody who thinks $1,000 in the pockets of working families is crumbs should never lead the American Congress and should never lead in Tennessee again. Marsha's been with us every step of the way. She stood with us to enforce our laws, to build that wall, secure our borders. Phil Bredesen, I'm told, doesn't think we should build the wall at all, and he has a long record of supporting illegal immigrants instead of enforcing the rule of law. And Marsha Blackburn is an unapologetic supporter of our Second Amendment, and Marsha Blackburn is the only candidate in this race endorsed by the NRA. The truth is, Marsha's going to fight for Tennessee every day, but I know Marsha's going to stand with our president and this administration on the agenda that we're delivering for the American people, just like she's done in the House of Representatives. And the truth is, Phil Bredesen's first vote in the United States Senate will be to make Chuck Schumer the Senate Majority Leader. I mean, that's the truth of it. And, you know, Phil Bredesen, if he becomes your senator, will actually help the United States Senate be turned into the center of the Democrat resistance. But I know Tennessee's not going to let that happen. So on behalf of this president, on behalf of conservatives all across the country, we're calling on the volunteer state to deliver one more time this November, when you make Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn Senator Marsha Blackburn from the great state of Tennessee. And while you're at it, we're also counting on Tennessee to elect another rock-solid conservative to lead this state as governor, a businessman who will partner with us to deliver more jobs and higher wages in the volunteer state. Tennessee needs to send Bill Lee to the governor's office come this November. Strong leader and a good man. My fellow conservatives, time's a-wasting. We have work to do. This is the moment. Now's the time. Now's the time for courage and clarity of purpose. Now's the time to relentlessly push this movement that many of us in this room have been a part of for decades forward to another historic victory. The truth is, the other side is mobilized and they're motivated, maybe as never before. They know what's at stake. The question is, do you? The truth is, to deliver another great victory for the American people this fall, we don't just have to match, we've got to surpass the enthusiasm of the American left and their energy and their passion. And that starts right here, right now, with all of you in the volunteer state. Okay? It's on. It's on, Tennessee. So I'm going to ask you to do a couple things. First of all, this November, we will win across this country if conservatives get out to vote. As the president said last night, you got to get out for the midterms. So decide now. And remember, friends don't let friends vote alone. Bring a friend. Vote early if you can. And be ready to work on Election Day. Secondly, we're going to win if you go tell somebody. Tell somebody about these incredible candidates. Tell them about Marsha Blackburn and a principled record that she's built in the Congress of the United States in a lifetime of service. Tell her about Bill Lee. Tell her about all these other great conservatives that represent Tennessee and Washington, D.C. But also tell them about the stakes of this election. This election in Tennessee in the Senate could really be where the majority turns this year. It has profound implications for our ability to continue to move an agenda forward that's resulting in a stronger and safer and more prosperous America. I mean, I'm encouraging you just to get out and stop people at the grocery store or at your place of worship or over a backyard fence. Talk to them about the difference that this administration has made with strong Republican majorities in the House and the Senate. I mean, tell them that the government's working for them again, not the other way around, okay? Tell them that the forgotten men and women are forgotten no more. And tell them we need renewed Republican majorities in the Congress from the volunteer state. I mean, the truth is we're going to win. We're going to win this November if you just go out and tell the truth. Tell them what they're not hearing on most of their major cable television networks, right? Tell them about a growing economy. Tell them about a stronger military. Tell them about an America that's standing tall in the world again and upholding our most cherished values. The truth of the matter is we're going to have to step up because the Democratic Party has embraced ideas out of the American left that have literally failed everywhere they've been tried, and they'll fail again if we give them a chance to be in a majority in the House or Senate. And lastly, I want to say to you, we're going to win only if enough Americans understand what's at stake. You know, history records that the first midterm election for the party that's in the White House can be challenging. In fact, that's been true for the Republican Party in every midterm election, except for 2 in the last 100 years. That's what the conventional wisdom says about midterm elections. But I think we all know what President Trump thinks of conventional wisdom. We made history in 2016, and we're going to make history in 2018 when we re-elect Republican majorities in the House and Senate. We're going to do it. My fellow conservatives, thank you all for being out here today. It's a joy to be with you all. America faces a choice this November. It's a choice, I believe, between a party that celebrates America and one who actually have leaders that demean the American people. It's a choice between those who say our nation's best days are still ahead of us and those who simply want to be back in power to manage American decline. I mean, as our 40th president used to say, it's not a choice between right and left, between conservative and liberal. It's really a choice between up and down. And I know with all my heart, the people of Tennessee and the people of America are going to choose to continue to go up to greater freedom, greater American strength, and greater prosperity. But it's going to take all of us to go do it. So let's steel ourselves for the challenges that lie ahead. Let's rise to meet those who would tear down what we've built together over the last several years. And as you go forward from here, I encourage you to go forward with faith. As you talk to your neighbors and friends across this great state, have faith in the people of Tennessee and the people of this country and their ability to choose wisely, to choose the path that will result in a greater freedom and greater strength for America. Have faith in the leaders that have been elected, from this president to the leaders that are standing for election and re-election this year at every level. Have faith that they're men and women of their word who will do as this president has done from the first day of this administration, to keep the word that he's made to the American people. And lastly, I'd encourage you, if you're so inclined, to exercise that other kind of faith as well. In these too divided of times, in these times of seeming too much division in these United States of America, I encourage you to bow the head and bend the knee and pray, not just for these candidates or even for our cause, but just pray for America. Pray for all the people of America, that this shining city on a hill might continue to grow in strength and radius, that we might continue to renew our commitment to the ideals and principles that have made America the inspiration for the world. And as you do so, just remember that those ancient words that Americans have clung to in times much more challenging than these, that if his people who are called by their name, by his name, will humble themselves and pray, he'll do like he's always done through the long and storied history of this country. He'll hear from heaven, and he'll heal this land, this one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So pray for America. These prayer matters. But time's a-wasting, men and women. It's great to be at CPAC with you. Great to be here knowing all these conservatives that are CPAC 365. But I want you to leave here today encouraged, and I want you to go to work. Get behind all these great candidates. Get behind this cause. Exercise all your rights as citizens. Let your voice be heard. And remember this nation in your hearts. And I know if you do that, with your continued support and with your efforts, with President Donald Trump in the White House, with Marsha Blackburn in the Senate, with renewed Republican majorities out of Tennessee in the House of Representatives, with Bill Lee in the State House, and with God's help, I know we will keep making America prosperous again. We will keep making America safe again. And to borrow a phrase, we will win in November, and we will make America great again. Thank you very much. Let's go get it done.